Hey guys, welcome back to Between the Apexes. Here with Tim Mackey and Hog Dust. Ready to talk about the last two races. We kind of missed Mugello and now with the Sachsenring. So we kind of have to go over both those two races and of course the race predictions coming up. What do you guys think? I mean, I'll tell you what I think. It looks like a Ducati show, Ducati race series. Both races, we had Ducatis, I think one through 4, 1 through 5, 1 through 7, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's become like the Ducati Cup for sure, right? I think it was one Aprilia dotted in there. Or was it one KTM this time? I forget. It was one KTM dotted in there, Jack Miller. So that was it. If you're not on a Ducati, I don't think you're winning the title this year.
Yeah, my question is, based off the past two races, did Ducati make another step to where they're just conquering it again, or like, do the other guys have a chance?
Well, I think if you looked at Sachsenring, they had what was that? I could be wrong, but it was like a serious improvement, 17, 20-second race time improvement.
Uh-huh.
And everybody else improved
has
a little
lot
bit.
To do with that too, though. It was warmer than it normally is there.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I think I don't think big step, but I think you saw during the winter with the testing that Ducati's just continued to refine what they already have. They didn't make the mistakes with the motor they did last year, and they really hit the season this year where they hoped to start it last year. But they've just hit the nail on the head. And Aleix was saying Aprilia's improved a little bit, but not enough. His 23 bike is better. It's quicker, but Ducati, like you said, has made a concerted step. Even though, again, I don't think it's a big step. I think it's just a refining of what they already had. It's amazing what they've got.
I think also 8 bikes on the grid allows you to do that because you can try out so many different combinations to find the winning combination when you have 8 different people trying.
Yeah. Well, this last race, the Sachsenring race, I was actually able to see why the Ducati is so just dominant. And it has to, when it's come over turn 11, the way the Ducati could just put the power down and keep it going. The electronics don't freak out when it's starting to wheelie. It just kind of puts itself in place. So you got better aero, better electronics, clearly. So you can kind of see where they start gaining the gap on everybody. And I think the KTM is actually just as powerful. Like, it clearly has the speed. It's outgunning them off the straights.
Yeah, Brad Bender had the top speed record at Magello.
Yeah, but the Sachsenring, to me, I saw that turn 11 difference, how when they start going down the hill, that's where aerodynamics start really playing. The electronics are playing. Like, Jack Miller couldn't fight because his bike was slowing him down.
Yeah.
That front wheel start coming up and back off a bunch, and then you got sandwiched.
Well, Zarco gave him a nice nudge off the track too. But
yeah, but Jack lit up the tire on lap 1. He had the lead going down into Waterfall and lit up the tire, and he got gobbled up. He went from first to fourth in that section, exactly like you're saying. Yeah, but I think it was more of him getting a little ambitious with the throttle right there. But he didn't have the bike to stay with him because he was right there with the group and just didn't have the bike to stay with him. Ducatis are cut above. They just are. And like you said, Speed, having 8 data inputs from all these different variety of riders, they have now developed the fastest, best handling bike. I was wondering if Pecco did get them to back it down a hair from what he called the perfect bike, where he couldn't tell when he was losing the front anymore. I guess they backed that off a notch. But yeah, they've deserved it. It's been a long time coming for this company. I remember when Gigi left Aprilia to join Ducati. It was a big move because he was instrumental in the development of the Aprilia V4 that won the World Superbike title in 10, if I remember right, with who was it, Biaggi in 10 on the Aprilia won World Supers. But yeah,
Max Biaggi, I think so.
I think it was one of those guys. But yeah, it was best thing they ever did was hiring Gigi, and it took a long time, but they're here. And you look, he's really led the way. He brought the first wings in what, 15, 16. He was the one that did the launch device. He did the squat device. It's all him. He's been just amazing for that company, and now they're really, really in a position where they've upset the apple cart. The Japanese bikes are no longer dominant, not even close. It's swung to Europe. This is an epoch shift like we had in the late 60s when the Japanese came to the front. I never thought I'd see this. It's pretty amazing what's coming out of Europe right now.
I can't believe Honda, though. Speaking of that and the Japanese bikes, Honda is like, it's the biggest motorsport company in the world. I don't understand what they're doing out there.
I think I saw something, and this is just me coming up with scenarios in my head, but the difference between the Yamaha and the Honda is they're clearly a step down from the European bikes, and that's causing the riders to push the bikes even harder. The Yamaha is able to let the riders know what the limit is. The Honda does not let the riders know. That's why you've got two championship riders that are injured, one's severely injured, and then you've got Renz, who's amazing. So clearly the Honda doesn't give them the feedback to where they know where the limit is. The Yamaha does. That's why the Yamaha's fallen back with two great riders, if not one of the best riders in the world. I don't know what the answer is. I mean,
I don't think anyone has the answer, but I think how they got there, like you said, is pretty clear. Yamaha being the last inline four, they were pretty even with Suzuki. They won a title with Fabio. Suzuki got that title in 20 with Mir. And they're the last one of the inline four. But then Honda, and I think they got complacent. And the same thing with Honda. Honda had 8-9 glorious years with Marc. They didn't touch the bike too much. They did whatever he wanted to it the next year. It really was the bike that he kept giving them feedback on. But it's amazing. If you remember looking back at Marquez in the early days when he was turning the bike on the front wheel, much like Top Rack does now, that went away. And then everything's changed. And now Honda's found themselves very complacent. They were Yamaha and Honda were reluctant to do aero development. So they really followed rather than leading in that respect. And just stopped innovating. There was Ducati innovating with everything they could possibly come up with. They did. And the Japanese just sat back and did their usual model year upgrade with minor changes. And Ducati's really, and Aprilia too, and KTM. What KTM's done with the aerodynamics, they made 3 big developments this winter. 1 was the engine, and 2 was the aerodynamics. And again, a new chassis, and it all seems to be working pretty well. I think Yamaha and Honda have to wipe the slate clean and come up with a fresh design. Yeah. I think with Cadillacs, they're trying to fill in the interim, and they may have their home team working on next-gen stuff. I hope that's the case. But yeah, the days of them innovating are long gone. Remember when Honda came with the Big Bang engine? They used to lead the way. Alternate firing orders. They were the first ones with was it Yamaha? I think actually when they changed the way the loads were in the swing arms, with the way the shocks were mounted. All the developments lately are definitely coming from Italy.
Yeah, I see a lot of lack of commitment and lack of money, honestly. They need to pay for Yamaha especially needs a satellite team. Just to advance at all, you need a satellite team. Honda has one, but like you said, they had Marc, who just he's hiding all the problems, and he's doing a great job.
Well, the big thing is Ducati invested in F1 aerodynamic engineers from Ferrari, and now KTM's bringing in F1 engineers from Red Bull. There's clearly a pattern that they've got that jump, obviously.
Yeah, the Japanese bikes aren't committing, and I don't know if it's the pride that'll get them to move, or maybe when they start losing all their talent, nobody wants to ride their bikes anymore.
They need to do what the other manufacturers done. They've outsourced to people that know what they're doing, pay them the money, and bring them in and let them engineer their area to the best of its abilities. So they have to do it at this point, or it's the point of no return, really.
Yeah.
Well, I think Honda's got a better chance of a turnaround because at least they have the right engine format, right, with the V4. Yamaha's got even bigger decisions to make. Whether they're going to go it alone with the inline 4, or do they take a good long look? I mean, you take a look at those Ducatis, those KTMs. They're radically differently looking machines from the Yamaha. The Yamaha's looking very dated by comparison. Take the wings off, it looks like the bike Rossi was on 5 years ago. So,
yeah, I agree. Jorge Martin. He's coming up. Pecco's proven that he is a leader and he deserves that number 1 plate. But you know what? Jorge Martin's making the factory regret.
Yeah. Hey, Tim, remember when the last time we talked and I said he's an upgraded version? He's an upgraded version of Maverick Vinales.
Yes. Well, I think one of my picks was right. Maybe just one with Jorge on the podium. Boys, he like I said, he'd be a threat if he could put the crashing aside. Look, it looks like he's done that. And I think when he got to play with Marc and beat him, he was very strategic and very thoughtful about how he dealt with Marquez. I think it was at Le Mans, was it, when Marquez slid out chasing him? And then, for him to come in second at Magello, and then, man, you almost call it the hat trick, right? At Germany. So
yeah, the thing I'm thinking about though is Mugello. Jorge Martin had a soft rear tire, and Pecco had a medium hard tire, and then in that race he got second, but he held pace with him throughout the entire race. So he developed a longevity skill. Then he went into Germany and he had the same rear tire as Pecco this time and was able to hold him off the entire race. So
I think that comes down to his weight, honestly. I mean, look at Jack. He's one of the girthier riders on the grid, and he struggles with that. I know for a fact that I put a lot more leverage on my tires than my son. My son weighs 135 pounds. I weigh 210, so it's a big difference. And even smaller differences of those guys, when you're talking about those margins with those tires, size does matter for sure. And it's kind of interesting because Danny used to have trouble, Pedrosa used to have trouble getting the right heat into the tires because of his size. So tires, right? Always comes back to that conversation. And I think tires are still a big conversation. Nobody's enforcing these pressure regulations yet because it would be a joke, right? Nobody's able to stay within what they want them to stay within pressure-wise within the race. I think it's half the time you have to be above that minimum. Nobody's accomplishing that and staying safe. So
yeah, you can't have I feel like you can't have a set tire pressure when just as you said, the riders have different weights. Different people with different weights are going to want different tire pressures. Lighter racers, they're going to want more tire pressure. So the bike turns in a little bit faster. The heavier riders, they might want less tire pressure because they're going to get that heat in the tire anyways, and the pressure is going to get higher.
But they're actually far more affected by following the bike in front. They're actually trying to figure out, hey, am I going to get the jump on the front row and lead? Because I'll start with a different pressure than if I'm on row 3 and have to follow people. And what's interesting now is, I laugh because the commentators think there's going to be a pass, but it really isn't. These guys have to get clean air, 1 for their aero, and 2, as they're approaching the corner, they get off sight so they can get the downforce and keep that front tire in some clean air. Once you get that tire out in clean air, it helps a lot. But it amazed me reading about how they're predicting where they're going to be come lap 2 and try to set the pressure for that. It's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, it's a science. And then, I'm finding myself more and more a Mooney VR46 Academy fan. Those guys are up there. Every race, they're up there in the front. And Bez had some bad tires in Mugello, so he wasn't there. But both him and Marini, they're always top 6. I mean, they're on Ducati, so that's a given. But
yeah, they're on the machine to deliver.
they're being consistent.
Yeah,
they are. And again, those guys get those reheated random allotment tires. I know Swear Maverick got one of those recently, one of those sets in qualifying. So yeah, it'll be interesting what happens with Michelin next year. They're going to have to. They're hard working on a new front tire right now, working very hard on that. That's the big thing for me is we need to get the passing back, and they have to address the front tire. And maybe I think we're stuck with the aero, but maybe we can get rid of the launch devices and the shapeshifters where they drop the rear coming out of the corner, because that's what's killing the passing. And we see that those are mechanical systems that still have failures, right? Sarko's, his was locked for 3 corners until he got hit by Marquez, which it was a twofold. One, he got knocked wide, but he said, hey, my front end's working again. So I'd like to see those devices gone. I think we're stuck with the aero, though. But Michelin needs to come up with a better tire, maybe back off the performance and give longevity there so there's more opportunities to pass. Everyone's mumbling about the passing. It's not just me, it's everybody is now talking about the passing. And we started that conversation about 2 years ago. So,
well, if you ask Pecco, he thinks everybody else should be on a slower bike, so that way he can pass everyone.
Yeah, but Pecco's still winning. Let's talk about the back of the pack guys. Marquez.
You mean Marquez?
What's he going to do? Where's he going to go? Is he going to stay at Honda and finish out his contract to 2024? Or is he going to, pull something else like a pole or a Mav and try to blow up the engine.
If I was him, I'd have that new manager already working on a KTM for me. I think it'd fit well with that bike. But KTM's in a real pinch, right, with Acosta, and
Yeah,
their
they need
seats are all
Pedro.
filled.
Pedro's their number one priority. I feel like you need to make room for that guy.
Yeah, why would you go for an over the hill 30-year-old racer when you have Pedro Acosta coming in?
I mean, he's not over the hill. The dude is raw talent. He's gonna, if he gets on a bike that's a little bit better, he's gonna beat everyone. I still think he's the fastest.
But here's the thing. Let's say Marquez gets a $20 million contract. Second race, he hurts himself. There goes 20
Yeah, and
million.
I don't think it's about the money for him.
Yeah, he wants
right
to
now.
win.
I think he's missed the window. He's
Yeah.
now got the label of being fragile, and he didn't have that label before. So I think he's missed that window for a factory ride elsewhere.
I don't think he cares where he goes. He just wants a better bike so he can win. He clearly
Yeah, I don't
said,
think he's going to win on that Honda even next year. They're
Yeah.
not going to turn that around in a year.
he's like, I don't care what color the bike is. Like, it doesn't bother me. I just want to win races. And he could jump on almost any, besides Yamaha, but he could go on the KTM, he could go on the Aprilia or the Ducati. I think if he gets any of those three bikes,
Aprilia might have a seat for him. We have Elacious and Mav, which
yeah.
aren't really doing a whole lot.
Yeah, I think the Aprilia
That
What
would
do you
be
think about
interesting.
that, Tim?
Yeah, if
That
he
would
goes
be interesting.
if he goes to Aprilia, he's my pick for the champion for whatever season that's going to be.
Yeah. Him and
Well, we'll
Miguel
see.
Oliveira would be pretty cool.
Yeah, but
I think the window of opportunity for him is closed. I don't see him winning another title. I just don't.
I don't think it's over yet. I think he's going to have a comeback story.
If he can finish the season in one piece.
If Honda could put it back together, you can't count that guy out. No one's ridden like that dude. Like, I can't stand him. First off, like, I respect him, but his remark against, it's Zarco could have got out of the way when I lost my front end and ran into him.
He didn't even check on
He didn't even
Zarco.
check on him. He just ran away. The dude is he's this, like, he don't care about anyone, right?
But tunnel vision.
I'm telling you,
Actually,
he's still a champion. He's insane.
I think they got to look at that corner because Maverick almost piled into the bike too.
Yeah.
They're lucky that it was the bike hitting the bike and not them hitting the bike at that speed. They've got to do something with Sachsenring or something with these crashes. That to me was alarming this weekend. Seeing two guys, one of them hit one and the other one just miss. Maverick just missed hitting the bike. He went behind the rider that was exiting. So,
but it's like MSRH Houston. When we're at Houston, it kind of the same kind of deal.
Thing. Except the difference is, at least at Houston, you have a bit of gravel between the pit exit and there's not even a gravel. They're in front of the gravel trap. They're literally right on the impact zone.
Yeah, it's a lot earlier in the
track. Yeah, it's really bad.
But anyways, it's not Zarco's fault, Mark. Just so you know.
Well, I mean, Zarco should have known the cannonball's coming down.
Yeah.
Hey, I called it a racing incident, but to have a guy to say that it was the other guy's fault when you're the world's most prolific crasher and you just wiped him out, I'd have punched him in the nose with that one. That wouldn't have sold well for me, I'll tell you.
When I saw him just run to the pit, didn't even I would have went to my competitor, You have like a minute left in your qualification and like your word. No, dude, go help the guy that you just ditched your bike on.
Yeah.
And check him out.
It's an animal.
I still think it's an extremely dramatic event that's happened this weekend with him. 5 crashes, him withdrawing from the race.
But you also have to count, this is Honda's fault.
It's Marquez did help.
It is Marquez's fault too, but
hey,
I'm blaming Honda
engineered
too.
that bike. He engineered that bike. He's been working on that bike for a decade.
The dude's been gone for like 2 years. How much engineering could he put in there? Think about it.
Well, where do you think where's Fabio going? He's also kind of mid pack right now with Yamaha. Is he going to stay with Blue or is he going to jump ship?
It's tough. When's his contract up?
I think 24.
24, but
he's not going anywhere for a year. And then I think everyone is aligning then. A lot of seats should be open at the end of 24. So I think he'll be out of there. How could he not be? He's an extreme talent.
Yeah. I don't know why he would do another year though with Yamaha. I mean, it's just like Mark. I mean, if Pole can get out of his contract when he got out of his contract and these other guys and Mav got out of his contract a year early. I mean,
Zarco
Zarco, he got out of his contract early.
Well, they had a seat available. I think seats are tight right now. It's just the way the contracts are aligned.
Yeah, I would guess that.
I mean, I could see Grassini having a seat if they got rid of the other Fabio De Genia.
Well, Parmac hasn't said much about Zarco yet. Like they say they'd like to keep him, but
Zarco's been showing results though. He's been top 4 the last 2
if
races.
Fabio and Marc Marquez, you start getting these other guys knocking on the door. I mean,
Yeah, Zarco is also an aging talent.
It's like
he has yet to win a race.
I think Aleix Espargaro, Zarco, who's the guy on Ducati? DG or no?
Yeah, I can't.
What's his name?
DG Antonio, Fabio DG Antonio. His seat's in trouble for sure.
Yeah. We got to get rid of Taka.
I mean, that might be cool too if you Taka. Well, I mean, he's on a Honda, but yeah, you're right. He just has the right passport. But that'd be kind of cool if Marquez went and took Di Antonio's seat. Then you'd have the 2 Marquez boys on the Grassini team,
and then Marquez would be the first privateer champion on a on a year-old bike.
I don't know.
I don't think Ducati's going to hire him. I just don't. I think it just goes against the grain for everything. They've worked so hard to beat him, and I think now they want to prove that they can be the best with their current riders. They don't need Marc Marquez. And again, he's now got a tag of being fragile. And again, wow, 5 crashes, withdrawing from Germany. How far we've tumbled. And I don't know what point he was trying to prove, or leverage of pressure he's trying to put on HRC. But
that crash he had in the warm-up before the race, though, was pretty gnarly.
Well, Taka said he did nothing wrong, and I think Mark couldn't figure out why he went down. Similar to how they were having some strange high sides. If you remember, he couldn't understand the high side where he broke his arm, and then the first one back from that, he had a massive one. So there's some gremlins in their electronics that let that rear end step out on that Honda occasionally, and he's gotten hurt a number of times with that. I think he's disillusioned with Honda. I think you're going to see, just like all aging racers that start getting hurt and aren't getting the results. It's the first time I've seen him not get on the bike and not hang it out. He could have ridden, I think, on Sunday, but
yeah, he could have. He didn't look like he was that bad, but
I think he's got a fractured thumb and something with his ankle. That's why he decided to.
Injuries slow us all down eventually, and it's happening to him. So I think that's going to be part of his problem marketing himself to another team, is he's not as marketable as he was a couple years ago.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but it doesn't apply to that one person, and that's him. It applies to everybody else, but it's the one guy.
I guarantee KTM would like him on their bike. Guarantee.
Yeah, KTM, their secondhand team. I don't know how Pol Espargaro is going to come back. Like, he's had a very significant injury.
Yeah, that's sad, but
plural injuries. That was pretty nasty what happened to him. He's got a permanent scar on his face from his teeth, and I think Raul or he, if I was Pit Byra, I'd be like, I could put Marquez in that chair.
Dude, imagine if Gas can get Pedro and Mark on that squad. It would be unreal. Because you'll have the legendary Marc Marquez.
Factory boys freaking out.
Yeah, they're for sure. You'll have the legendary Marc Marquez with the next possible Marc Marquez together on Gas. It'd be insane.
Hopefully Pedro's got better class.
What's going to be interesting is to see who Honda's going to be able to retain if he leaves.
Oh, yeah, they're in trouble. Uh-oh.
Big trouble.
Let's talk about a upcoming race in Assen. What do you guys think?
I predict more crashes at Assen for Marc Marquez.
Yeah, I think that's a given. Who's going to win that race, though?
Who won it last year?
Pecco,
yeah. Yeah. I think he's going to win it again, too. It's hard to go against him right now.
I think Jorge Martin's got his number. He's just going to – the Martinator is going to come out and get him.
Yeah.
Nice to see Fabio do well because the Yamaha flows well at that track, and he looked like he was on for it last year before he ran into a Leish and punted him into the gravel and fell off. So it'd be nice to see him up there. Yeah, we had Bezecchi, and don't forget Maverick Vinales was on the podium there last year. So I'm definitely give a plug for Maverick to do something this weekend.
Maverick does like that track. I'll put him on the podium as one of my predictions as well. Probably a third place.
And Bezecchi, I think he's going to bounce back. It's a tough call, but I'm going to go with Bagnaia comes back and wins one. I'm going to give Martin third, and I think Maverick's going to take second, and that's my crazy one.
What do you think?
I think since this is Rossi's favorite track, he's going to win. No, I think the Martinator is going to come out and he's going to be fast and he's going to win this one. I think Pecco's not going to get on the podium because I think he's going to try to keep the pace with Martin and he's going to tuck it and duck it. So I'm not counting Pecco. And then I'm going to say, so first, Martinator, second, Brad Bender.
Brad was fifth, only 2 seconds off last year, 2.7 seconds off the win.
Yeah, I think Bender's going to be up in there because the tighter, faster tracks, that more aggressive riding style, that's where they seem to flourish. And then third, I'm going to throw Bez in there. I think Bez has got something to show.
He's hungry.
He wants to make up. He should have done better in the past few races, and he wants to get back in there. So I think Bez is going to step up his game.
Okay, I'm going to say Bagnaia for the win, Bezecchi for second, Maverick for third.
Who third?
Maverick.
Oh, dang, nice.
I know.
Yeah,
I don't like the guy, but I know I've seen him enough at Assen to know that there's something about that track that tickles his fancy.
Yeah. And he's due for a bit of luck. But yeah, again, Bez did get second last year there, so going to be at least 2 Ducatis on that podium, I think. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Bender's like been riding amazing, and I'm throwing him up there. He could win the race too, honestly. But I think the Martinator's just on it right now, so that's why I'd give him the win.
Martin has something to prove. He wants to show the factory team they should have chose him over Aeneas.
Well,
and speaking of Aeneas, I really want him to come back and do something.
Yeah, I saw some of his racing, the glimpses that they were showing, and he's not doing the same body positions that he was doing before, like last year, because he always has a very interesting where he points his body in the direction as he's doing the corners and all that stuff. So he wasn't quite to that extent yet. So he's not riding to his abilities yet.
No, he's still hampered. Those were quite some injuries he got.
Yeah. And trust me, when he comes back, once he gets his feeling back, I don't think Ducati could go wrong with the 3 of those guys. They need to hang on to all 3 of them as long as possible.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see. We had 19 starters last time. To your point earlier, Speed, I think Dorna would like to add another team next year. I know they've been talking to a lot of manufacturers about how they get that done. So the thing is, how much carnage, and do we get everybody healed up after the summer break? Everybody should be back and healthy except for Rins. I don't know if he'll be ready. That's some nasty tib-fib stuff he got. Haven't had 2 of those myself. The big thing is making sure you don't lose mobility in your ankle with a tib-fib injury. I did in one of mine, and you just don't get it back. So you got to be careful with those injuries. He's going to be out a while.
Man, that's scary. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next week. Hopefully our predictions come true.
Have a great week, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.